Close your eyes for a moment and try to remember the exact taste of the last thing you ate. You can probably get pretty close, right? Now, try to remember the taste of a dish you haven't had in a year, maybe a specific meal from your childhood. Suddenly, it's not quite as vivid, is it? You know it was good, but the precise flavors are frustratingly out of reach. This isn't just you, or a sign of a bad memory. This is a fundamental quirk of how our brains store and recall sensory information, especially taste and smell. It turns out, our minds are surprisingly bad at keeping precise records of these crucial senses over time. You might think we'd be experts at remembering delicious things, but our brains have other priorities. Consider this. You can probably recall the story of eating that childhood meal, where you were, who you were with, maybe even what you wore. But the actual flavor profile, the subtle blend of spices, the exact texture, often eludes you. Why is it that our memories for visuals and narratives are so much stronger than our memories for taste and smell? This question becomes even more fascinating when we look at ancient history. We can piece together what our ancestors ate from archaeological digs and ancient texts. We know they ate mammoths, wild berries, ancient grains, and all sorts of things we can only imagine. But we can never truly know how those foods tasted. They might have enjoyed a perfectly roasted animal, savory and succulent, or perhaps a bitter, unfamiliar root. We know the ingredients, we know the cooking methods, but the subjective experience of flavor is lost to time. It's a culinary ghost, haunting the edges of historical understanding, and it raises a profound point about what history can and cannot preserve. Scientists call this phenomenon the tip-of-the-tongue effect for taste and smell. You know it. You know it was delicious, but you just can't quite grasp the full sensory detail. It's like having a word on the tip of your tongue, but instead of a word, it's a symphony of flavors that refuses to fully play out in your mind's ear. Our brains prioritize certain kinds of information. Visual memories, for example, are often tied to location, which helps us navigate and remember where things are. Remembering what something looks like is crucial for survival, like spotting a predator or finding food. We build intricate mental maps of our environment. Likewise, auditory memories help us understand language and social cues. We remember voices, melodies, and specific warning sounds. This kind of information is directly linked to communication and learning. Imagine trying to learn a language if you couldn't remember specific sounds. It would be impossible. But taste and smell, while powerful at the moment, seem to be designed for short-term impact. They are immediate alerts, signals about the edibility or danger of what's right in front of us. A foul smell warns of decay. A sweet taste signals energy. These are now senses. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. Early humans needed to know if the berry they were eating right now was poisonous or nutritious. The memory of that specific taste wasn't as critical as the memory of where to find safe berries or what kind of plant to avoid. The immediate sensation was paramount. In essence, our brains are resource efficient. They store what's most useful for long-term survival and future action. A detailed blueprint of a hunting ground? Absolutely. An exact replay of yesterday's breakfast aroma? Less so apparently. The sensory details fade because they serve their immediate purpose. However, there are exceptions. Memories tied to strong emotions or traumatic events often preserve sensory details with shocking clarity. The smell of smoke from a fire, for instance, can trigger vivid, full sensory flashbacks for someone who experienced a house fire. Emotion acts like a superglue for memory. This is why your grandmother's cooking, even if you haven't tasted it in years, might come back to you in a flash if you encounter a similar smell. The emotional connection to comfort, love, and home gives that smell a powerful anchor in your memory. It's not just the food, it's the whole experience. But for ordinary, run-of-the-mill tastes and smells, the details are quickly pruned away. Our brains perform a kind of data compression on our daily sensory input, keeping the gist but discarding the high-resolution files. This efficiency probably saves a lot of mental energy. So, when you consider ancient food, the problem is compounded. Not only do we lack direct experience, but even if we did, our brains wouldn't retain the precise flavor for generations. We rely on descriptions, recipes, and archaeological findings to reconstruct diets, but the true taste remains elusive. Imagine trying to explain the taste of chocolate to someone who had never experienced sweetness, bitterness, and the creamy texture all at once. It would be impossible. You could describe its component parts, but the combined sensory experience is unique and requires direct input. This is the challenge of ancient cuisine. Even modern attempts to recreate ancient meals, while scientifically accurate in terms of ingredients and methods, are still only approximations. The exact genetic makeup of ancient plants, the specific strains of yeast for bread, the unique properties of ancient cooking vessels, all contribute to a flavor we can never truly replicate. What about supertasters? People with a higher density of taste buds often experience flavors more intensely. Do they remember tastes better? The science suggests that while their initial perception is stronger, their long-term recall of those specific details still fades at a similar rate. Intensity doesn't equal permanence. This tells us something profound about how our brains construct reality. We don't just passively record data, we actively interpret and prioritize it based on our needs. Our memories are not perfect recordings, but rather dynamic, edited narratives, constantly being shaped and revised. The reason our sensory memories for taste and smell are so elusive is partly due to how they're processed in the brain. Unlike visual information, which often has dedicated pathways, taste and smell are more distributed, integrated with emotional and reward systems. They bypass some of the higher cognitive centers that handle explicit, declarative memories, like facts and events, and instead head straight to older, more primal parts of the brain. This is why a smell can trigger an emotional response before you even consciously recognize what you're smelling. It's an ancient shortcut. This primal bypass is fantastic for immediate threat detection or instant pleasure. But it's not designed for careful archiving of details. It's about, is this safe to eat now? Or is this scent dangerous? The fine print isn't stored for later review. So, while you might remember that ancient Romans ate garum, a fermented fish sauce, you can't conjure its exact pungency and saltiness. Even if you made a batch today using historical recipes, your modern palate and the subtle differences in ingredients would make it a mere echo. The true flavor is gone forever. This inability to truly grasp ancient tastes means we lose a fundamental aspect of daily life for our ancestors. Food wasn't just fuel, it was culture, ritual, and pleasure. Without understanding its sensory profile, we miss a vital piece of their lived experience. It's like reading a musical score without ever hearing the music. Even something as simple as water would taste different. Ancient water sources weren't filtered and processed like ours. They would have carried minerals, soil, and organic compounds, giving each spring and river a unique, forgotten flavor profile. Imagine drinking water that tasted distinctly of its source every single time. And what about the impact of hunger? Our ancestors often experienced hunger far more intensely and frequently than most of us do today. Hunger doesn't just make food appealing. It fundamentally changes how things taste. A simple, bland meal would be ecstasy to a truly starving person. This adds another layer of unrecoverable sensory experience. This constant forgetting isn't a bug, it's a feature. Our brains need to make room for new information. If we remembered every single taste and smell with perfect clarity, our minds would be overwhelmed, drowning in an infinite library of ephemeral sensations. Forgetting allows us to prioritize and focus on the present. The brain's incredible ability to forget the specific details of taste and smell is a testament to its adaptive nature. It's always looking for the most efficient way to keep us alive and thriving, even if it means sacrificing some of the sensory richness of our past experiences. It's a trade-off for survival. So the next time you eat something truly delicious, pause and savor it. Know that the exact symphony of flavors you're experiencing in that moment is fleeting. Your memory will hold the impression, the story, and the emotion, but the precise notes of that culinary experience will likely fade, becoming a ghost of a meal. This brings us to a final, mind-bending thought. Even your own taste buds are not the same from year to year. They regenerate, they change, influenced by age, diet, and health. So even if your brain could perfectly record a taste, your ability to perceive it would be different. You are a different taster now than you were as a child. This means that the perfect childhood memory of your grandmother's pie isn't just distorted by your brain's memory pruning. It's also distorted by the fact that your tongue itself has changed. You literally wouldn't taste it the same way today, even if it were identical. This makes recapturing a taste almost impossible. In essence, your sensory world is a constantly shifting landscape, perceived by an ever-changing instrument, your body, and archived by a selective historian, your brain. The past isn't just another country. It's another sensory reality, one we can never fully revisit, no matter how hard we try. What ancient food or forgotten flavor do you wish you could experience, just for a moment? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed unraveling the mysteries of the mind, remember to subscribe to Ever Wondered for more surprising insights into human nature and history.